Successful financial planning and achieving financial security is a building process. It is something that takes typically a very long time unless you win the lottery or have the rich uncle die or whatever. For the vast majority of us, the opportunity is in the long term in the building process, and it is not an overnight process. But also, kind of like a reputation that takes a good reputation takes 20 years to build, it can be torn down in 5 minutes. And we need to make sure that we're doing things over the long run to protect the assets and the things that we have out there, particularly as we accumulate and get closer to retirement, get later in life. We want to make sure that we're not doing things that put us at an unacceptable level of risk, which is, I go back to having Will take a look at the market trends and what we're looking for. We want to make sure that we do everything we can to avoid large losses and going backwards. So that said, let me go over a couple of things on the financial planning process. And obviously, with what's going on with COVID and what's been going on with that for the last 18 months, it is just a very good reminder to make sure that you have specifically powers of attorney and health directives in place. These are documents that allow somebody to make either financial decisions or the quality of life decisions, to pull the plug decisions, if you do not have the capacity to make those. These are typically wrapped into a will into what we call a will, to estate planning documents. But really the focus here, I want to make sure, is on the power of attorney and the HIPAA or health directive. Because like I have sons that are 20 and 23. Something happens to them and they are incapacitated. It doesn't matter that I'm dad or mom's there. We need to have legal documentation on them to be able to do these things when they don't have the ability to make this capacity. So I really want to encourage you to look back. If you don't have these documents in place, or if you need to update them, maybe you named somebody a number of years ago and that person's no longer, there's somebody better, more suitable for you, please take a look at that. It's extremely important, okay? Also, along the lines of what we've had with the financial turmoil over the past 18, 20 months, is to make sure that we have proper savings in place. Job security was one thing going in 2019. Job security has been a whole nother thing rolling into 2020 and 2021. And bluntly, I believe that it's going to be becoming more volatile. If you have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses set aside in a checking account, savings account, preferably an account that's kind of got a firewall to it, that you're not going to go and, I want to purchase. We have a want, not a need. We want to access this emergency fund for when we need to repair a refrigerator or repair an AC unit or repair the car. We have medical bills that aren't covered. We've got a deductible that we've got to cover on that. This is when we want to have those 3 to 6 months. So if you find yourself spending, let's say $3,000 a month in expenses, you're going to need to have $9,000 to $18,000 in an account that you can access that does not fluctuate with the stock market or other markets. You want to make sure that money is readily available and liquid, and you can go write a check for it. And again, if you don't have this right now, sitting there saying that we need to have $9,000 to $18,000 worth of savings, I don't say that frivolously. If you're not there, if you don't have that kind of percentage of savings, this is a building process. And what I have always found is that people respond well to when they set a goal. And so going out and saying, you know what, I'm going to start the process. And I hope that maybe it's as soon as a year, or maybe it's 2 or 3. But starting to save that amount of money, set that account up and start to fund that is incredibly important. And you'll get there, but you'll never get there unless you take the first step, of course. Some other things to consider. Right now, taking a look at what are your future financial needs. Obviously, retirement is the number one thing out there. It's also the number one underfunded future need, not just within this country, but all around the globe. But you have an awful lot of things, whether you have a 401k or a 403b through work, if you're an independent contractor, the SEPs, which is a simplified employee pension plan. My wife is a realtor and we contribute to that. And it's a phenomenal opportunity for a tax deduction and be able to put money into an account that grows tax deferred until we take the money out. There is a difference now between, and with IRAs as well, the individual retirement accounts. There are traditional IRAs and there are Roth IRAs, and there are tax differences between the two. Not going to get into it right now, but you need to understand the differences. And a number of our educators actually now have not only pre-tax traditional Roth or 403b plans, they are also the Roth 403b, which is available and can be very helpful depending upon your individual situation. There's other things also to consider. Maybe you have some kids or some grandkids, or maybe you've got a favorite nephew or niece, and helping those folks with educational costs. And a 529 plan is a phenomenal way. We use these for our two sons. They have been incredibly beneficial, allowing us to save into an account, have that money grow tax deferred, tax free. And then if you take that money out for qualified education expenses, that money comes out without any tax consequences. And you can use it for not just tuition and books, but you can also use it for living expenses and a broad range of educational expenses that aren't just in the classroom or affiliated with the higher education system. There's also, you may have special needs for parents. My mother is deep into Alzheimer's, and there's a need there. May have a child that will be dependent to some level for the remainder of their life. Being able to create and fund and do some things. Normally this is done by trust, and there's a lot of different levels of authority and funding that you can do. But there are solutions to those challenges in life. And it's just taking the time to find out what your options are.